Hi, I'm Lorraine. Welcome to the District Yoga. For today's myofascial release practice, you will need 2 myofascial balls or tennis balls. You'll also need 1 block. If you'd like a blanket, you can have a blanket nearby. It's not absolutely necessary. If you have a cork block or a wood block, you might want to put it over the block when we use it, but that's completely up to you. And we're going to get into the shoulder. So we're going to get into the muscles of the rotator cuff and also a little bit in the teres minor and serratus there. So we'll start in our first one. We're just going to use the block to start. So bring it on to its middle height. And we're going to come on to our right side. And we're going to bring that block underneath really the armpit area. It's going to graze, for our first one, it's going to graze the ribs. So find the block, middle height. It's parallel with the top of your mat. So the bottom or the top ribs are going to graze the bottom of that block. And we're going to bend through that elbow, bringing that right hand to support the head. And then so if you come onto it and right away it feels uncomfortable, if you need to bring that blanket, then you can. Otherwise, find a place and right away you might already start to notice some pockets of goodness there. And then just kind of stay for a couple breaths, just allowing the body to feel this here. Maybe letting the eyes close. Maybe noticing if you're resisting in any way. Especially that serratus, the ribs there that it's an area we don't necessarily touch too often, but can carry some stress and some tension. So we'll just try to rehydrate that area, and we're going to add a little bit of movement here. So if you wanted to stay, you could. Otherwise, we're just going to start to lean a little bit forward. So we're coming on to kind of towards the pec here. Want to make sure the breast tissue is out of the way if you're a female and you do have some breast tissue. So we're going to lean forward, and then we're just going to lean back. This one definitely feels intense for me. I don't have a blanket, but I might use a blanket during certain practices. It varies. So just go ahead and lean forward and back. Again, if you find a place that you want to stay, so like maybe you rocked back and there was a place that just it needed a little extra love, you could stay there. Otherwise, finding that movement or that motion, rocking forward and back on that block. And we're just here a couple moments. We're just exploring what this feels like, right? Feeling any pockets or any places that might need a little extra love. I'm going to go ahead and stay on this backside of my rib and just breathe. Just see if you can relax into it, even though, again, it might feel a little bit of tension in certain places. Take your last couple moments. If you stayed and just want to rock forward and back, you can. If you were rocking forward and back and you wanted to stay, absolutely. And then once you're ready, take an inhale, stay where you are. Exhale there. We're going to keep this block underneath the armpit, but we're going to just move it up so it's really kind of at the middle of our armpit. So moving it up a smidge there, maybe an inch or so. And the hand is going to stay resting in, the head is going to stay resting in the hand. And again, we're going to find that same motion. So rock forward and back, or stay in any place. The backside of my ribs here feel nice to stay. So if you find a place like that that just is calling your name that needs a little extra attention, stay there. Otherwise, again, we're just rocking forward and back, and we're getting into that area of the serratus, a little bit in the pecs, and the teres minor here as well. So definitely impacts the rotation, the mobility of the shoulder, depending on what you're doing. We're just really hydrating the tissues. We're just bringing some blood flow and some circulation back to these areas. If you need to stay, stay. Last couple moments, last couple breaths, wherever you are. Whew. Once you're ready, just start to press into that left hand and just come up to a seat. We're going to go ahead and switch sides, so you could stay at the top of your mat. I'm going to still face you, so I'll switch edges of my mat. And again, we're coming onto the left side this time. The block still at that middle height. And this time, again, we're going to start with a little bit with the ribs a little lower. Bringing that bend through the left elbow, left hand cups the head. And again, you might come onto this side and it might feel completely different than the other side did. So notice that, just be aware. Maybe it's less intense, maybe it's more intense. And then find that motion of moving forward and back on that edge of the block. And then just breathe there. Finding little pockets of goodness and maybe staying and breathing into them if that felt right. So if ever you need to just pause the video and stay longer or linger in any particular area, you can. We'll just get a couple moments, a couple minutes of each exercise today. If you'd like to move forward and back, you can. If you'd like to stay, again, find that nice area in the serratus and a little, if you're rocking forward towards the pecs. Last few moments here where we are. And then we're going to make an adjustment of the block. So we're going to bring the block about in between the middle of that armpit there. So again, we're still bending through that left elbow and catching the head with the hand. And now you're a little bit higher off of those ribs, so a little bit more into that armpit. And again, you're going to rock forward and back, just finding a little motion, a little rehydration of the muscles and the tissues in that area. Might feel different than it did on the other side. Might feel different than it did even just on those ribs that we just were at. Just breathe. Last couple breaths. Again, if you want to stay, you can. Take a huge inhale. Exhale that out. Slowly press into that right hand. Just come back up to a seat. And we're going to transition to the back of the shoulder. We're going to switch off and utilize the balls. So we're just going to start with one ball. You're going to need the block nearby as well because we are going to lean off to the side again. But I'll just show you real quick as we come on to the back. We're just going to touch into the infraspinatus, and it's really going to be in this area. It's just a general area. It doesn't have to be in a specific spot. So we're along the edge of the scapula, and really this whole area we're going to touch into. We're going to find one place in particular and stay. If you need the movement though, you're always more than welcome to find it. We'll start on the right side again. So again, using the block, I'm going to have it at its middle height. It's going to support our head here. Bring the right arm out towards the side. And then as that right arm is on the side, we're going to bring the ball into the left hand. And we're just going to lift our body so that we can wedge the ball underneath that. Again, we're not going for any specific area per se, just really that region of the infraspinatus. And right away you might already start to feel this as you placed it wherever you did. The closer you are towards the armpit, you're getting a little bit more teres minor if you do come closer to the armpit. As you go further towards the scapula, a little bit more of the infraspinatus there. So again, just allow the head to rest on the block. And wherever you landed might be good enough. If you need to make any adjustments, you absolutely can. You could be more leaning towards the back of the block or the ball, or you can be a little bit more forward. I'm going to go ahead and stay here. Finding a place for that left hand. And then again, just using your breath here. This area impacts the range of motion and mobility of our shoulder. It's a part of the rotator cuff. So a nice place to just touch into, to just kind of say hello to those tissues. If you need to make any adjustments or move around on that ball, you can. Might feel nice. Although know that we're never trying to chase any sort of sensation. You don't have to have any sensation to let this practice work. It's a very experiential practice. Some of us really like to feel that sensation, kind of like that deep tissue massage feeling where it kind of hurts so good, right? Just stay here. Last couple breaths. If you haven't tried it already, maybe rock side to side on the ball. Find a little bit of stillness. Last 3. Last 2. Beautiful. And 1. Slowly lift off that ball. Come to a seated position. And then just take some time to notice. We'll notice one side versus the other. Maybe you feel a little circulation, a little more heat from one side to the other. And once you're ready, we're just going to switch sides. So coming onto your left side, again, we're going to bring that block wherever you are to support the head. And left arm comes out towards the side of your space. Grab the ball in the right hand and then lift that left shoulder up. Ooh. And right away I already found a nice nugget of goodness there. It might be like that for you. You might have to explore a little bit, but find the ball underneath that left shoulder, left infraspinatus here. And then again, just stay and breathe into this place. Finding a place for that right hand to rest. Again, if you wanted to add a little bit of movement or you need to make any adjustments on the ball or with the ball, you can. I'm kind of leaning back a little bit on my ball here. Just really allowing that ball to find some deep tissues there. Again, the goal, not necessarily to chase that sensation, but to just allow the tissues to feel a little pressure so that we create some circulation, we create a little bit of rehydration in that area. Again, if you want to find any movement, you can. If you want to move the ball or adjust the ball a little bit, you can. Allowing the head to still rest. And then from wherever you are, take your last couple breaths, maybe some stillness. Take an inhale. Stay here as you breathe into that ball. Slow as you need, make your way up to another seat. We'll move the block off to the side as we will not need it anymore. Actually, we might use it at the end. So keep it close by. And then just take a couple moments to notice. Maybe noticing both sides. Any sensations you feel. Maybe you feel that sensation of rehydration of the tissues, that circulation coming back into that area. Big inhale. Exhale. And from here, we're going to come onto our back. So bring both balls with you. We're going to come on to the back. And let me show you real quick. So we're going to move really to the supraspinatus. If you grab the back of your shoulder, you feel this kind of bony ridge, the spine of the scapula here with the fingers. We're going to be just above that. So we're going to start just above that with the balls. We're going to use both balls at the same time. So we're going to be right above that bone, and just again, general area right here. Once we finish with that spot, we're going to move into the traps a little bit. So a little bit over in towards the spine, maybe about an inch or so. But we'll start in the supraspinatus, move a little bit more towards the traps. And we're going to use both balls at the same time. So once you're ready, if you're not already there, come on to your back. And go ahead and place the balls in that supraspinatus area. So one ball at a time or both balls at the same time. Again, it's right above the spine of the scapula. And actually, if you have that block nearby, we're going to use it here. We're going to plant through the feet, and we're just going to bring the block underneath the sacrum or the sits bones or the tailbone. And you could bring the palms down to the mat. You could stay here. Right away, you might already feel this. If you don't, we're going to add a little bit for you. So if you don't feel this too much, go ahead and bring the hands up and overhead. So be as slow as you might need, because once you get to a certain place, you might feel this a little bit more in certain areas. Whew. So again, this is the supraspinatus, again, a part of the rotator cuff. So again, contributing to the mobility and the range of motion in the shoulder joint. If you want to add that movement, you can keep the arms moving forward and back. If you found a place that you wanted to stay, stay. Otherwise, I kind of like this movement today. So moving the arms up and overhead, maybe staying in any place. Again, we're not here super long. If you ever need a pause or come back to this, you can. If you felt like the block underneath the sacrum was not calling your name, you could also remove that. It just adds so that you feel this a little bit more in those shoulders. Last couple breaths, I'm going to go ahead and stay with my arms up and overhead. Notice if you're resisting in any way. Breathe into the balls. Again, just rehydrating the tissues of the shoulder here. If you have your arms reaching up and overhead, take one more breath. Slowly bring the hands back down to the side body. We're going to go ahead and remove the block just to feel this in our bodies for a couple moments. Go ahead and remove the balls as well. Again, just notice. Maybe the upper shoulder feels a little bit more alive, that circulation moving through. And then from there, wherever you were, we're going to move about an inch towards the spine. So I'm going to go ahead and place one ball at a time. It's going to be really more towards the traps. For most of us, we do tend to carry a handful of stress in the trap. So this one is probably going to be nice and juicy. We're going to use that block again. I'm bringing it on its lowest heights, but you could bring it on a higher height if that felt better for you. And then again, the balls about the same from side to side, closer in towards the spine now, but we're going to touch into the traps again. Palms come down to the mat. Stay here. Notice it. If this feels okay, stay. If you want to add that bit of movement, you can. This will be our last shape for this practice today. So arms up and overhead. Whew. Again, you could stay with the arms up and overhead, or you can keep that motion of movement. Again, most of us carry a lot of stress or tension through this area, so just be slow. If you are adding that movement, just breathe. Again, if you wanted to stay a little bit longer than we are today, you absolutely could stay. Pause the video. And see if you can just visualize that rehydration of these tissues. See if you can allow them to just find that space. It's really this nice self-massage. Traps are always nice to get into and get a little bit of relief. Again, you could stay in any place. You could keep the movement going. Sometimes it's nice to just stay and breathe into the balls. Again, if it was ever too much, you could always pad the balls with a blanket. Obviously, depending on which balls that you have. If it's a tennis ball, it's probably a little bit softer, which a little gentler. Some people might like that a little bit more. Take your last couple breaths. If you're moving, stay in one place. If you stayed in one place, maybe find some last bit of movement. All right, we're going to go ahead and remove the balls one at a time off to the side. Go ahead and remove that block off to the side as well. And then you are more than welcome to take a nice Shavasana. But we will say that is the official end. Maybe you feel that rehydration coming back into those tissues. Maybe you have a little bit more range of motion. Just explore that after this pose, after this class, and see how you feel. If you loved it, come back to it. It's a practice that you could, again, stay for longer than we did, or what we did today might be just enough. Thank you for sharing your energy with me.